Like I said, we recognize professional achievement. We a bar outside, you should receive a ticket. That ticket is redeemable for a domestic beer, a red wine, a white wine, a rosé, a soft drink, a mineral water. If you did not get one, please come approach me or someone on the exec, and we will be happy to help you provide you with a registration ticket. So that being said, I'd like to invite Adam Ludia, our Vice President of Communications, to present our first award in course of the year. Thank you, everybody.
This might be the voice of the professors in the physical science department, but that being said, you walk into this professor's class, very surprised that the entire region of the world can be taught so clearly. His lectures are so structured and mesmerizing that you walk out of the class with plenty of ideas. And I'm sure we're also appreciative and glad we could report with him. He's so engaged with his students, so active in their academic and real life. Yes, and has a huge crowd I've seen walk down campus. This professor is the warmest human I've ever met. He holds a very special place in my heart, and his class will be among my favorite memories after I graduate, and I'm sure others feel the same based on my views and responses. The political science poster here goes to, and leads the students district commission, Dr. Eric Hamza, for politics at 9, politics of South East Asia.
Thank you. That was just a beautiful, very generous and kind speech, and I think it's very touching, especially a comment from a child. I'm delighted and honored to receive this heavy award. I just want to say that I love my job. I love teaching McGill. It's a pleasure to have students.
And many of you who care about politics, care about development, care about what's going on in the world, are passionate about this, and furthermore that you engage with me analytically, critically, ask tough questions, and show real interest. To me, that's the greatest. It's just very stimulating, greatest thing a professor can ask to get this kind of engagement. So it's a real pleasure to receive this award, and I'm very honored for this. And I actually have to apologize. I have to run out right after this to give a speech at the Gala Night for McGill UNICEF. And I agreed to do this because it's a very important cause where they're donating their funds to children of Yemen. But thank you very much, and thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Professor Conta. Stephen Bateman, our Vice President Turner, will now present the award for Most Accessible Professor.
So I haven't had a class with this, professor, but I thought I would outline two major prime sources that really describe him very positively. First is the McGill Academic Profile, which includes his research interests in Latin American politics and also corruption and development. And then, of course, the more reliable source, I think, for students is ratemyprofessor.com, which I quote, "He is an amazing professor. He manages to get almost all students involved in the discussion. He is also extremely cute." The award goes to Professor Balan.
Unfortunately, Professor Balan could not be with us today. His mother is in town visiting from Argentina. But Professor Balan told me to extend his thank you to everybody here. If you know Professor Balan, you know how much he cares about the students, as much as everyone here, I would assume. But he really does thank you, and he really does appreciate it. So on behalf of Professor Balan, thank you for voting for him. And the last one will, the last award we'll present before launching our Journal of Political Studies and getting on to the other awards is going to be award for Best Lecturer, and I invite Jesse Schuster-Liebner, our VP Academic, to come present that award. Thank you.
It's my honor to present the award for Best Lecturer of the Year. I'm also very lucky to be in this professor's class this semester. As I meet other students in the class, as soon as we begin bonding, there's this immediate connection over how amazing this professor really is. Now, it may not be fair to the other nominees because this professor manages to squeeze an extra 10 minutes of lecture time into every single class. But it's really his amazing ability to engage students that's why he's won this award. So please join me in congratulating the Best Lecturer of the Year, Professor Boccini.
I guess I should do this. And I thought I was winning an award, but it was for the best accent. And so I'm a little bit disappointed. It's a great honor, and I really thank you for this. It's, as you know, it's my first year at McGill, so I was obviously a little bit like nervous of teaching like in a prestigious university to like very clever, smart students, and like you didn't fail me in a sense that like it's a pleasure to walk in a class at McGill. And I had a lot of fun, and I hope you had fun too. And I look forward to continue, like engaging with you, like next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Boccini. I'd like to now invite Erica Peterson, the editor-in-chief of the McGill Journal of Political Studies, up to speak a little about the MJPS, and then we'll have only about 2 minutes per publication of the individuals, the undergraduate students who were published in the MJPS this year, to just talk a little bit about the research, and then we'll resume with many other awards we have left. I believe we have 7 awards left, so hang tight. And if you're looking for space, we do have some space scattered around. There's 2 spots here, there's some over there. So Erica Peterson, please, presenting the MJPS. Thank you.
Thanks, Rashad. So I'm so proud to be standing up here today because I got to work with some of the most committed and dedicated students this year on our journal. The MJPS staff made truly astonishing strides, and I'm so happy to announce that we've actually become the first undergraduate journal at McGill to be accepted into our directory of open access journals. So tonight, after the launch, you'll be able to read all of these lovely articles on our new website. This has brought us another important step closer to being formally recognized by the APSA as the first APSA-accredited Canadian undergraduate publication. So that's also exciting. 4 of our authors are here tonight to introduce their research. So without further ado, I'd like to give the microphone to Alexandra Sakellariou, if she's here. Maybe not. All right. Then Igor. I know Igor's here.
Hello everyone. So I actually prepared a whole outline, but I got informed I only have 2 minutes, so I'm going to try to be a bit more concise. So basically, background on this paper is that I wrote a first paper for my Middle Eastern politics class 2 years ago when I basically explained how the group arose, and I had to write a paper for a nationalism class, and I wanted to study a bit more about what is the nation-building project of ISIS. So in the literature about ISIS, people talk a lot about the state-building project of ISIS, so how the group develops state-building capacities, infrastructures, and actually builds a state. But I come from the assumption that a state can only be a nation-state, if it also has not only a structure, but also a substance. That is, a meaningful common identity that brings its subjects, the subjects of the state, together. So basically I wanted to, if ISIS want to be successful, it needs not only to build an efficient infrastructure, but at the same time build sort of inject this kind of substance and identity for its subjects. So basically, my argumentation, what is interesting is that ISIS forcefully rejects nationalism as a doctrine, but what is interesting is that they actually engage in kind of nation-building practices that have been seen through nationalist movement throughout history. So basically, I argue that ISIS has engaged in nation building through 2 axes. So like by creating a nationalist narrative, which is the narrative of the caliphate, and engaging a lot of myth creation and bringing back to old practices. And at the same time, that is, I think, my most important contribution is that it is building an identity through an instrumental use of violence. So basically, what does it mean is that I'm trying to explain that in two parts. So first, they are defining identity through the practice of takfir. So takfir is a practice that basically is declaring someone as being a non-Muslim. So by engaging that practice, the group is building an order. Is basically giving a strong and a strong and narrow identity to its group by building, like, there is a strong community, a narrow identity who is Muslim, and all the others are unbelievers. So they're basically trying to build a group and a nation in opposition to the others. And at the same time, they're engaged. I basically argue that the group has engaged in that all the violent images, all the beheadings, and all the extreme violence that we've seen is not only a brand, but it's also a way for them to construct and frame the identity of the people. Basically, I argue that I am trying to build on the management of savagery, which is the work done by an Islamic theorist, Abu Bakr al-Naji, who basically argues that a caliphate will arise when there is an unrestrained use of violence and a chaos is provoked, and that if the group can manage this chaos, then it's gonna successfully build a caliphate. So basically, that's basically it. At the end, I'm also trying to do a comparison with Saudi Arabia, who built its state in the 30s in the same kind of way, also of a really narrow understanding of what being a Muslim is, and building on that, I'm trying to assess the group future, concluding that even though if the state building capacity of the group is going to be difficult to sustain because of the international mobilization, I argue that the identity is provoking through this instrumental use of violence may actually stay resilient because it's a really powerful way of framing this identity. So I would like to thank the McGill Journal of Political Studies for publishing it. I was really surprised. I was really delighted to learn about it, and I would especially not that I finished that essay 10 minutes before the deadline, but and also like to thank especially Nicole, who helped me a lot throughout the whole editing process and who helped me to bring this essay from a rough, like a good draft to like a more consistent and better articulated product that you can see in the journal. So thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Jamie Cernick.
All right, so unfortunately I didn't talk about Johnny Depp or Pirates of the Caribbean in this paper, so I hope you'll still read it, even though it might not be as interesting as it seems. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose this topic rather than go over a strict outline, since you all have the paper in front of you. And I chose the topic of piracy for a class on African politics just because the topic itself is so interesting. When you hear the word piracy, it conjures images of something that happened a long time ago. You know, when I think of piracy, I think of Blackbeard or, you know, swashbuckling pirates. Piracy is one of those phenomenons that's just naturally suitable towards storytelling or myth building. And that's why oftentimes when an instance of piracy happens in the modern day world, there's a disproportionate amount of attention that's drawn to these sorts of attacks. And so in this paper, part of what I wanted to do was explain why this phenomenon that has happened throughout history continues in this modern day. So kind of explain the causes of piracy. But also I wanted to add to the literature by explaining the variation across the African region in terms of the frequency of piracy. For instance, in Somalia, which is a region we typically associate with piracy, pirate attacks are actually decreasing, have decreased significantly within the past 5 years, whereas in Nigeria, the Gulf of Guinea, pirate attacks have increased heavily. And so that's something I felt the literature was a little sparse on. So in my paper, I argued that piracy is a function of grievances that are sustained by the population. And so I argued that previous arguments that have been made by academics, such as the rational economic actor theory or the failed state theory, can help to explain why piracy as a whole is around. But I wanted to go further and explain why in certain areas of Africa piracy is increasing, whereas in others it is decreasing. So I hope you will read my paper. It's pretty short compared to the others, but I did want to thank the journal for giving me this opportunity to publish. I think it's a really great forum for students to share their ideas and their research. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie. So last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome the winner of the PSSA's inaugural award for Best Research Paper to the microphone, Constantine Valetis.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I was actually not aware that this was happening, so it's... Oh, good, fantastic. Well, at any rate, I was asked to speak briefly about the inspiration behind my paper and the research process. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that anything that went into the paper was inspired, frankly, but I would say that it was prompted by a deep interest in two subjects. The first of them is the history of Russia and its place in the world as a cultural and historical entity. And the second is the relationship between international law and state behavior more generally. The latter point I've been able to explore, and I've been very lucky to explore over the course of my time as research assistant to Professor Fernando Núñez-Meets, and in the course of my work in Poly 575, which was also taught by him. The paper generally was prompted by an interest in this sort of paradoxical situation involving Russia, because on one hand, it seemed like when Russia invaded eastern Ukraine, and specifically the Crimean Peninsula, and then annexed it, it didn't really care about international law. Why else would you invade a country and annex its sovereign territory? On the other hand, the way that Russia actually went about carrying out the violation of international law struck me as strange, because it undertook to, first of all, distribute passports to Russian nationals in Ukraine, and to have the Crimean Parliament first declare independence before allowing the territory to be annexed. So that seems like somebody who's concerned about following the letter of international law, if not the spirit. It was a really interesting paradox to explore in the paper. As far as the research process is concerned, it was actually quite straightforward. It's one of the few papers I haven't had a really serious panic attack over. I'm very pleased that it went well, and it's an honor that the MJPS has decided to publish it and to grant me this award as well. Thank you.
So as you can tell from the speeches, we have a set of pretty diverse but very, very interesting articles in the journal this year, so I would encourage you all to read it, and thank you for your support. I'd also like to quickly thank my team of editors who did an unbelievable job staying on deadlines and really bringing these papers to the publication quality that the MJPS looks for. So if we could have a quick round of applause for them too. We also had the opportunity to introduce a double-blind peer review process this year that has really knocked our legitimacy up a notch. So we have a set of wonderful peer reviewers as well, whose names I cannot release to you, but if we could quickly thank them too, that'd be great. All right, that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, and let's get back to the awards. With regards to the MJPS, I'd just like to note that the MJPS is the first undergraduate journal to be on the open source system and archived at the McGill Library. And as Erica mentioned, that is the first step towards being recognized by the APSA. And we really are trying to make this a more legitimate undergraduate journal. And just like the award that we offer, it's a monetary award that PSSA institutionalized this year for the best undergraduate research paper. And we really think that's another step towards legitimizing this paper. And we really hope that all of you will submit next year, whether you've graduated or not. We're just trying to publish pieces written by former undergraduate papers and legitimize MJPS. Moving forward, before we get into the awards that we have left, there is some people that I'd like to just commend and recognize in the Department of Political Science who often go unappreciated. So I want to just point out some of our administrative staff that are here today, some not here, but Some are here, some are not here. But I just want everyone, please, to give a round of applause to our unappreciated admin staff, Della, Pina, Judy, Andrew, and Dina. They are just as essential. They're just as essential to this department as the students and as the faculty. But let's move forward. And of course, I also want to give a thank you to Provost Manfredi and Vice President Academic, who's also here today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy life to come and be with us. So thank you to Provost Manfredi as well. And alas, without further ado, let's continue with these awards, and then you guys can start mingling and doing your thing. I'd like to invite to fund me our previous Vice President of Events and going to be the President of the PSSA next year. So here's a chance to recognize her face. I'd like to invite her up to present Canadian Politics Course of the Year.
All right. So I had the opportunity to take my first Canadian politics course with this professor who brought such energy and enthusiasm to each and every lecture, which is super impressive because these lectures were at 8:30 in the morning in the law building, which is pretty far for some people, i.e. me, 20-minute walk. And so this professor is incredible with the way in which he weaves Canadian history and politics in a way that situates us directly in the issues of Canadian governance, from the elite politics of John A. Macdonald to the contemporary discourses on Stephen Harper. It is with great pleasure that I present the award to the professor who not only deserves a Senate seat, but is the professor who has taught the best Canadian politics course this year. I am proud to announce the PSSA Award for Excellence in Teaching to Professor Richard Schultz for Canadian Politics Course of the Year.
The grades are in, and yet I still frighten her. Anyway, this is a distinct honor, and I'm very grateful. I'm always delighted that I have, in fact, live bodies in front of me and not tape recorders at 8:30 in the morning, although I've seen a few tape recorders there as well. I've started to calculate, I think this is my 37th year of teaching at McGill, and it's almost coming to an end. And one of the things that I have been most pleased with over that period of time, and one of the things that really distinguishes McGill University is, in fact, the quality of the undergraduates. Personally, you make teaching and enjoy, despite the 39 years. In fact, I've been teaching since '69, not all here at McGill. Despite that, it's the students, and particularly the undergraduates, that continue to give me the energy to enjoy the teaching. So thank you very much.
And I'd like to invite Roland Barley up, our VP Finance, to present the award for Comparative Politics Course of the Year.
It's my pleasure to present the award for Comparative Politics Course of the Year. As a student of this professor in the semester, I can confidently say that she has brought an exceptionally fresh and engaging energy to students of the Political Science Department, of which I've been a member for 4 years now. Her ability to draw students out of their comfort zone and empower them to confidently engage in class debate is absolutely remarkable and beyond anything I've experienced at McGill University. In her short time at McGill, she has already been a tremendous inspiration to many students across numerous departments, and I'm very confident that she will make some incredible contributions to McGill in the future. Without further ado, please join me in congratulating Dr. Cassandra Steer for the award.
Absolutely no idea that was coming. Was I supposed to prepare a speech? So I just want to echo exactly what was just said. I haven't had the benefit of quite so many years' experience of teaching, but I've taught for almost 9 years, and I would say this semester is the most joyful semester I've had so far, because of the level of discussion, the way that you challenge me with different questions, the way that you cross over different issues and bring in your learning from other subjects, and it's been an absolute joy, and yeah, I'm very honored. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Erica Peterson, our editor-in-chief of the MJPS, to present the award for Political Theory Course of the Year.
So, as most of my friends know, I am not a political theory person. I had never actually taken a theory class at McGill until this year, which is my last semester. So I was a little nervous because I hadn't done the prereqs, but I shot an email to this professor before the course because it sounded so interesting, and there was definitely a lot of information that sounded a little bit scary, and all of my friends advised me against it because he has a bit of a reputation for grading very, very meticulously. So anyways, I took it anyway because it just sounded so interesting. And even though the material is not always the most compelling in and of itself, this professor truly goes out of his way to make it just every lecture is so eye-opening and so compelling, and everyone in the class is furiously writing down notes and also so engaged, and you really don't see that in every poli-sci class. So it's my distinct pleasure to present the Theory Course of the Year award to Jacob Levy.
As people who've taken Poly 334 have heard me say, it is very unusual that there's a whole semester in the McGill Poli-Sci curriculum devoted to medieval and Renaissance political thought. This isn't a class I'd ever taught before, and it's not a class that I would have the opportunity to teach at most institutions. The material is rough going, and it is a testament to McGill students year after year that they keep making it through. So in my time here, this has become my favorite course that I teach. I've now taught it many more times than I've taught any other course cumulatively here and elsewhere. And the ability to be willing to step back from anything that's of immediate, obvious political interest to daily events, to step back from, frankly, quality of prose, because most of the works that we read were written in a Latin that wasn't the native language of the writers. These are works of theology and law, not obviously works of politics, and yet I really believe that there's a great deal to be learned from them that's unusual and different from what we get out of reading works in the modern or ancient canon. And I'm delighted that McGill students keep giving me the opportunity year after year to keep working them through. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Nina from our academic portfolio to present the award for International Relations Course of the Year.
Having had the opportunity to take this course myself throughout the semester, I'm confident that I speak for all the students in the class when I say that its combination of unique lectures, guest speakers, and an interactive learning approach, which is pretty rare amongst university courses, truly instills amongst its students a sense of passion for the subject of diplomacy, which makes this genuinely one of the best courses to take at McGill. I'm therefore very excited to be able to present Professor Pouliot with the award for Best International Relations Course of the Year, and also throw in a quick pitch. I see that it's being offered in the fall for next year, so you should all register if you have not taken it already.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. I think I'm going to do the most cliche and actually cheesy thing that one can do when one wins an award. I'm going to dedicate the award to my students. The difference, though, is that I mean it because as Nina mentioned, this is an active learning course, so it entirely rests on students' motivation, participation, passion, and enthusiasm. And every year I'm really genuinely impressed and amazed by how enthusiastic students are about not only the subject matter, but learning about international relations. They're almost sleep deprivation involved, not because they're writing papers, but because they're negotiating Security Council resolutions over Syria or redrafting the Paris Agreement. So it's actually, from my standpoint as a professor, very, very impressive and a whole lot of fun to teach. So thank you very much.
I invite Jonathan Taglioni, our VP External, to present the award for Honors Seminar of the Year. This is a new category, but we're really glad that we're going to be institutionalizing this one in the future. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, thanks, Rashad, for blundering my name there, but it's all good. It's all been fun. So before I explain the merits for why this professor deserves this award, I'd like to whip out a quick anecdote. So I heard a legend, apparently, that this professor, one day whilst walking into his undergraduate course, was approached by a Hugo Boss executive and asked to intern at his company just based on his appearance of dress. So I personally never had the honor of having attended one of these professor's classes or any of his seminars. However, I've only heard great things about this professor, and I actually had the honor of helping him out with some research last summer, and I finally found out what it meant to be one of his students and or research assistants. So it gives me great pleasure to give this award to Professor Fernando Nunez Mietz.
Well, again, I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank the team of fashion advisors that help me every day. Second, I want to thank my students for challenging me every time we meet, every week. And I hope you continue doing that. It's a necessary thing for a course to get better and better every year, and that's the goal that we all have, I'm sure. I'm very honored, I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
And the penultimate award that we'll be giving out is the TA of the Year. I invite Ida Mamouni again to present this award.
Hey again. Okay, so this teaching assistant, who happened to meet my friend first, so there might be a conflict of interest there, I'm not quite sure, is absolutely obsessed with international law, green and red grapes. She will spend $50 just buying grapes so that she can prepare for her courses, as well as US politics. She's an incredible support system for a lot of students. She's received overwhelming support from the nominations. They've all given her some kind of written shout out at any point in time, and I'm sure a lot of the other professors who have engaged with her can speak to her absolute dedication to the department. She was an undergraduate here. She's now pursuing her master's here, and I'm pretty sure Professor Breischer wants her to work as a professor one day. So if that isn't enough to absolutely adore this woman, the Teaching Assistant of the Year goes to Juliette Bronstein.
This is really nice. Yeah, it was definitely a little bit daunting having done my undergraduate here to be a teaching assistant. I was definitely worried that I was going to sit in front of a room of people staring at me blankly and not saying anything. But I've been so lucky to have groups of students who have been engaged and made excellent points that I didn't think of. And yeah, this is so nice. Thank you.
And last but not least, I'd like to present the award for Professor of the Year. This is a professor, I've been here at McGill for 4 years, and this is a professor I've taken 4 courses with. And it's one that I haven't asked for a reference letter, so that's something that really shows you that I really like taking his courses, right? Like, genuinely. And you students know what I'm talking about. It doesn't need to be said that he obviously is a fantastic professor. This commendation is one example. The fact that I've taken 4 courses with him, the fact that the students voted that he deserves this award. He's a great human being from what I can tell, and he's someone that has also supported PSSA in its endeavors in the past, recently, and I'm very, very happy to give the award for Professor of the Year to Dr. Mark Brawley. Thank you, everybody.
So I'm going to echo what my colleagues have said earlier. They've used one P word, I'm going to use another one, P as in pleasure, because it really is a pleasure to teach such smart undergraduates. And I'm going to use a different word, privilege, because all of us have talked to colleagues, our friends from graduate school days who are teaching at other universities, and they never have the same kind of stories to tell about the quality of their students. And so I'm going to say that. I'm also, though, going to congratulate Juliet, who was one of my TAs, because the quality of the TAs also makes a huge difference for how well we can do our jobs. So thank you very much. I don't know, is there a costume designer or the provost? Should I be thanking the provost back there? Production, directors. But thank you guys for this award, and I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
I would actually like to interject. This year has been incredible for me on PSSA. Me and Stephen have had the opportunity to be led, mentored, and become the friends of some of the most incredible students who are graduating heartbroken. And so I would like to invite Jesse, Ida, Roland, Rashad, and Jonathan all up because I have a little something for you guys to thank you for your time on PSSA and for making it so incredible. And I wish you all the best in your futures. You are all going to be incredible human beings and do incredible things. I thank you so much for the opportunity to get to know you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a strategic move maybe. No, that's so nice of me. Thank you so much. She's actually, like I told you, is going to be the president of the PSSA next year. So I hope you guys all maybe spend a moment to congratulate her on winning her election and just get to know her face. And there are other members of the executive here while we're on the topic of, thank you so much. Of the new PSSA executive, we have Garima, our incoming VP Communications, Ryan, our incoming VP Events, Stephen Bayman is going to be, again, our VP Internal, our VP External is going to be Amanda Hills, our VP Finance is going to be Mitchell Clark, and I believe I've covered them all. I'm going off the top of my head, so that's pretty good for an outgoing president who will not be at McGill. Before concluding our evening for today, aside from thanking all of you, obviously, for being here, because obviously this cannot happen without you, as cliche as that is, I'd like to reiterate what this kind of event is for, right? It really embodies the institution of McGill, the talented young individuals who are so keen. That is why we launched the McGill Journal of Political Studies on the same day as we recognize professors for their outstanding achievement and dedication to this department. As much as this is a piece of paper, I'd like to think it is more than that. We had an overwhelming, and that word's been used a lot, so an unprecedented, actually, amount of respondents to our poll of who should win these awards. They're awards that we can't force people to vote. They're students who actually take the initiative and want to vote for the professors and recognize their commitment to the Department of Political Science. So I appreciate the commitment that the professors have, and I speak on behalf of the whole department when we say we appreciate everything that you do. Lastly, with regards to logistics, we do have beverages available. Those drink tickets that you've been given are, like I said, are redeemable for red wine, white wine, rosé, domestic beer, soft drinks, and mineral water, because normal water just wasn't enough for this event. And if you did not get a ticket, please approach me, and I can give you a ticket. If you are a faculty member, please approach me, and I will give you unlimited tickets. So this is my last year. I've been serving on the PSSA for 3 years, and it's been truly an honor to be on the PSSA. Nothing could happen without the professors' dedication as well as the students. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
You're free.